Hi Year 1 families and welcome to Maths in Year 1. I'm going to do a short presentation for you explaining to you what we do with Maths in Year 1. So starting with just some wonderful pictures of some of the maths that goes on in Year 1 using lots of our different resources. Hopefully you enjoy that. So when we think about what we need to teach in maths, we use national curriculum, but we also use the White Rose Maths Hub, which is a team of experts and world-class researchers that have put together some of the key steps that children need to learn to be able to build on their mathematical knowledge. So we really want to make sure that the children are coming to us and getting more confident, more resilient, and really enjoying doing their maths learning. So in Year 1, we want to make sure that our lessons are engaging, fun, and that the children are getting hands-on learning. So we do lots of practical lessons. Often we don't always sit down and just record things in a book. We make sure we're using the resources and we explore those in a variety of contexts. Children will often do the learning maybe on their own individually, independently, but they might also do it with a partner or a group, which helps to encourage discussion. We really want the children to be able to speak and explain and reason out loud what they are doing and how they are understanding what they are doing. We want children to be practicing their fluency, having a go at maths challenges to deepen their learning. And we'll often spend more than one day on a particular concept to really make sure that their understanding is embedded in their brains and that they are beginning to then store that information in their long-term memory so that then it can be retrieved when it's needed to be when they come across these concepts later on. We also make sure that we are exposing them to cross-curricular maths to make sure that they understand that maths is relevant to lots of different areas of our learning. So often we will do stuff with shape on our computers in computing, making repeating patterns. Same in art. We'll also think about what happens when we're doing our science investigations, including our measuring how much water we're gathering in our water gauges. So we try and make sure that they understand that maths is not just something that we do in a mathematics lesson, it's something that we can use. To do this, we use the CPA approach, which I have spoken about on the previous introduction. So we make sure that the children have access to concrete resources, we make sure they understand that they can draw pictures to help their understanding, and we also encourage them to do the abstract, the numerals alongside those things. So often our lessons will encompass all three of these different approaches so that the children are exposed to different pictures, different images, and different resources, and that really gives them a wider understanding of how they can use their maths in different ways. The other thing we like to encourage them to do to help them to explain their maths is STEM sentences. So I'm going to explain to you a STEM sentence here that we use when we are doing our subtraction. So we have first. So first there were 4 children in the car. Then 3 children got out of the car. Now there is 1 left. So these key words and this key vocabulary is really important for helping the children to explain what is happening. So when we do this, we explore where the numbers fit into these STEM sentences. So the 4, that is representing the number that we've started with. The takeaway 3 is what has left. And then 1 is what's remaining. So first, then, now. So we use this for subtraction. We also have some keywords for multiplication, division, and addition. So if we were doing this as an addition, we would say first there were 4 children, then 2 more got in the car, now there are X amount. So you can manipulate those language and that words to fit with what they're doing, but giving them those language and those STEM sentences helps them to then translate it. And then after we've done all that, we then say to them, okay, represent that now as a number sentence, and they would write down. We use lots of different models to help them with their learning. So we use part whole models, we use tens frames, we use Numicon, we really make sure that they have an opportunity to use the resources. We don't just expect the children to sit down and write a number sentence out without being able to explore those numbers and what they're doing with them using resources. And that can be any resources that you have at home. It doesn't have to be the particular ones that we have at school. So one of the things that we look at most often is our part whole model. Now we'll use this in reception and year 1 and year 2, and it will evolve over time. So we'll start by using the parts by having objects in it, then we'll move on to be drawing the objects in as pictures, and then we will end up with what you can see here, which is the abstract, which is the numbers. And then alongside that we would then say our STEM sentence, which is one part is 6, the other part is 4, the whole is 10. So we get the children to really think about what they are seeing. And this is where it's really important to understand that place value has such an important role, because if they know that 6 and 4 go together to make 10, they're going to know that then they've got 10 ones, and that they've got a number bond, and that they know that if you're adding 4 to 6, you're always going to get 10. So it's really important that that fluency and that understanding of place value is there and underpinning all of this maths. We can also see that those are also represented with a tens frame and with some numicon. So all of these models are really useful, and you can use these at home as well. You can draw them out on pieces of paper. You can put them on the carpet with pieces of sellotape. There's lots of ways of doing it. Have a little look online, because there's plenty of ways in which people have shared online how to do maths at home. So this is my part whole model again, and it's just showing us that it does not have to be just 2 parts. So once we've really got the idea that these are parts and we've got whole, we can then see a different way of looking at numbers. So for example, 40p is made from 4 lots of 10p, but we can also look at that and split it in different ways. So that can be a challenge for some children to look at. There's also the part whole model, which we can use for missing number problems. So you can see we've used the numbers that we've been given, and then we just have to work out what is missing. It's really good for children to do missing number problems to be able to see if they can understand how we've got to that answer and what number has to go in that missing space. Now, the tens frame has been a really useful model to be used in year 1. We use it physically, but we also use it and draw them. So we've got a little problem here, and this is going to help us do some regrouping to make 10. So last night I bought 7 red cakes and 4 yellow cakes. How many do I have altogether? So you can see that I've represented my 7 red cakes with the red dots, and then I've represented my 4 yellow cakes with the yellow dots. So what I really need to do is to put them together. Now, for some children, they may start by counting one-to-one correspondence by starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and counting each of them. But what we want them to get to do in year 1 is to have the ability to be able to see that we can make 10 out of those numbers to make it easier for us to add that together. So we can see here on our tens frame that there are 3 spaces. We'd want the children to recognise that and say, well, we can move 3 of these yellow dots over into this tens frame to create 10, and then we've got 1 left over. So then we'd have a 10 and a 1. And from all their practice of doing that in year reception, they would know that 10 and 1 makes 11. The final model that we use frequently is the bar model, and this really helps us to represent different word problems. So here we've got Hardeep, who's gone out and bought some large eggs and some small eggs, and together he's bought 20 eggs. So we know that piece of information, we can write that down. He knows, and he's told us, that he's bought 7 small eggs. So we have that piece of information here on our bar model. So the bar model so far is showing us that 7 is a part here. The whole of the bar model is 20, and this bit here is the missing number. So we need to know how many large eggs there are. So the children would be able to understand what they know about their maths and what they know about the number 20. And they could also think about what they know about the 7. So I would encourage them to use their number bonds. What number bond goes with 7 to make 10, which is 3. And then I'd encourage them to say, well, we've got 7 and 3, which is 10. If you've got 10, what do you add to 10 to get to 20? They will all shout out 10. So then we know that the missing answer has to be 10 and 3, which is 10 and 3 together makes 13. So that knowledge of number is crucial in children being able to solve all these different types of problems. Now, there's lots of ways you can help the children at home. So knowledge of number and helping to explain what comes before or after a given number, how a number is made, explore numbers in different ways, represent them in different ways, ask them questions, encourage them to draw pictures and models when they're explaining it to you. Use those part-whole models. You can write them down. You can draw them on whiteboards, you can rub them out and do different things with them. There's so much that you can do with these models that we use at school, and it really does help to get a grip on the understanding that the child has. Encourage them to see the maths that's all around us, and get them to keep practicing their fluency and their number facts and exploring different ways of making those numbers. Thank you very much for joining me in Year 1 today. I will see you all very soon. And I'm hoping to be able to share with you some more top tips on how you can support your child with their learning using some of the resources we have at school and some of the things that you can make at home. Thank you very much.